Okay.
Jesus.
That's
Sup, Suris?
I've learned something in all of my time on the internet, and that's that if you don't hate yourself, you're not really on the internet, because the internet teaches you to hate yourself.
That's some solid philosophy right there, I gotta say. So, these three lovely people have their own channels, have their own links, have their own stuff that they work on. They do it a lot better than I do. The links are down below, except for Vishanti.
I mean, there's a video on my channel. It takes a lot of work to launch a channel, so...
This is true.
I don't know what you mean by a channel, unless you mean some kind of channel.
A channel.
Channel.
I just
100 channels.
If anybody remembers that terrible Frank, I think it was either William Lane Craig or Frank Turek that did the whole I don't know what you mean by atheism unless you mean some kind of theism.
I forgot about that. Oh no.
At least it's not as bad as Armando Calvo saying there aren't any atheists, because atheist just means a theist. Yeah.
All right, stream's
please
over.
direct me
Thanks
to
for
the
coming,
fucking
everybody.
razor
Goodbye.
blades.
These are the jokes. All right, so I'm here. I'm excited. These guys hate themselves. And, I mean, we can pretty much just jump right into it if we want. Except, I do think it's a good idea if you want to shill to do it now rather than... And then again at the end. So that way you get out where people can find you, so that way they can have to listen.
Subscribe to those two.
Yes, subscribe to those two.
It's a good idea to go subscribe to Dr. Josh. It's a really bad idea to come anywhere near my channel.
If you want to learn stuff, go subscribe to Dr. Josh.
If you want degeneracy, go to Suris.
Basically. Degeneracy, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Of my cat, you can visit my channel.
There you go. Alright. Should we go?
Yeah, we should.
Alright.
Yeah, let's get this over with.
Alright. So I did skip the first couple of minutes, just because it's a very bizarre introduction, if I ever did see one. But it's not that entertaining. It's just kind of strange. And he talks about dreams and how he did a thing on Genesis before, and now he wants to go through and do the entire Bible, so this is the Exodus one. So this is only available, as far as I know, if you pay for the Daily Wire subscription, which I definitely did, and I am definitely not telling people or encouraging piracy at all.
Why would you ever do that?
I would never
illegal.
I would never do anything like that, so I do have it mirrored, so if you do see any text on the screen, it is going to be backwards. So, let's just jump into it, shall we?
Checkmate! Hebrews written right to left. I win.
Oh, perfect.
I read backwards.
Turns out my big brain actually got it right.
This
Checkmate,
ancient
atheist.
story and what it means and why it's significant today, and
Hang on.
and why it's been significant for several thousand.
I have gone until that very moment without hearing this guy's voice.
Wait, really?
I thought it would be like
You've never heard
than that.
You've never heard the glorious voice of Jordan B. Peterson?
Calm down, Kermit.
I will never calm down. It's not easy
If I want to
being
listen
green.
to
You don't
someone,
understand.
if I want to listen to someone huff their own farts, it's not gonna be him. So I assumed that his voice would be like faux intellectual and like really deep. Okay.
I'm just imagine that voice, but he's saying the chemical composition of his own farts, like Edward Elric when he's talking about how a human body is made. He's just he's just reciting it the whole time.
We have 2 memberships for 35 months that said, hello everyone, and celebrate 35 months. Can we get an ooh-woo from Suris?
No, you can't. Go away.
And Manya. Manya said this is going to be mind-numbing. And one question for Dr. Josh. Have you ever auditioned for Chippendales? I can hook you up.
Yeah. There's this video. Did it on Saturday Night
great.
Live. I think it was opposite Patrick Swayze. That was me.
Yeah, Chris Farley. I love that.
Everybody's
amazing.
working for the weekend. So.
All right, are we
Amazing.
ready to go now that we've popped
Okay.
Vishanti's Jordan Peterson cherry, which is a sentence that makes me want to
Please
vomit,
never
but
say Jordan Peterson cherry. Please don't.
I'm gonna take a bath in acid after this is over, so...
I told you, I'm here. You're here for pain. Let's go.
Yeah.
Years. And so I'll get everybody, first of
Agony
all, to
booth.
introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with Dr. Douglas Headley on my left, and we'll go around this way. And Dr. Headley.
Well, my name is Douglas Headley, and I'm a fellow
Hedy
at
Lamarr.
the University
Headley.
of Cambridge, a fellow of Clare College, and I teach the philosophy of religion. And I think there's a crisis.
Not a person with a history degree. Got it.
No, I
Yeah.
love this guy's voice.
Like
though.
I said, they're all gonna be experts in a field that's not this one.
They'll be
I just
experts
like
in
that
everything
this
but
guy-
history.
I just like that this guy that sounds like this and looks like that is the philosopher.
I think.
Or-
about
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be
thinking.
making Blazing Saddles jokes this whole time because this guy's name's actually Headley, and so every single time I'm gonna think of Headley Lamarr.
Why do you think I invited you here?
So I could shitpost.
There we go.
That's
Contributing nothing, shitpost everything.
the only person who's going to have anything to contribute here is going to be Dr. Josh. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves.
All right, show's on your back.
No pressure.
He's just like, thanks,
pressure.
guys. Why can't I be a shit poster? You can be a shit poster. You're allowed here. Welcome
He
to
can
Debate Hub.
actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be any good at it.
I can make up.
unfortunately.
I don't.
All
make
you
up
have to
facts.
do is do your Kent Hovind impersonation, and we will all get behind you.
in our culture, and the crisis is linked to a certain ignorance of the very backbone of our own culture, and the Bible is very much at the core of our cultural inheritage. At the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, there was an inscription, "Know thyself," and we're in danger of not being able to know ourselves because of the ignorance of
he's
the very
wrong.
foundations of our
That
cultures.
inscription was actually in the kitchen for the Oracle. That's completely where I saw it.
Oh.
In the Matrix.
Oh. It was on a
Remember when
cookie.
she's making him cookies?
Yeah, yeah.
She was like,
Is inheritage a word?
I was
actually-
about to say inheritage. Am I missing something?
I'm actually not 100% certain, but I am willing to be the consummate Googler. Real quick.
Oh, well, thank you.
Let's
Thank
see
you for
here.
sacrificing your Google skills.
There's
Someone in the chat is asking, is this guy using an upgraded Stephen Hawking speak and spell?
inheritage is actually a word. It's an archaic
Oh.
form of. It is actually an archaic form of inheritance, which means that
Okay.
this man is up his own ass because the only people who use
Oh, yeah.
archaic versions of actual like the words that we have standard usage for now are people who are up their own ass. Just saying.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. There's no reason.
The
Except
Venn
for trying to...
diagram of people who use like that upper class posh received pronunciation and people up their own ass, it's very close to being a circle, but it's not quite.
It's
Because
like
there are some people who are very humble that also have received pronunciation. So
it's like have you have any of you read the Dresden Files?
A little bit of them.
So the White Council in the Dresden Files, they only ever speak to each other in Latin, not because they need to, but because they're all arrogant pricks.
classical or ecclesiastical?
Classical Latin, because many of them are
Which
were actually.
pronunciation do they use?
It's hard to say because it's literally written as they spoke these things in Latin, and then it's written in English. So I would assume classical because most of them are old, like very very old as sin.
I was gonna say because there's this whole debate in the Latin-speaking community of whether you use ecclesiastical or classical pronunciation. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, as far
So-
as I'm 12 books into the series, and as far as I know, Jim Butcher never makes a distinction. But he does at least say that it's because they are all pompous assholes.
Fair.
If he comes back to Dragon Con this year, then I'll ask him.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Write that
'Cause
one down.
sometimes he shows up and hangs out in the artist alley. So I'll ask him, like,
Just grab him, just be
"Excuse me,
like, "Hey,
Jim."
Jim,
Jim fan.
which kind of Latin does the White Council speak?" just
Shove
just
a
you know,
microphone.
for now.
Pronunciations that he used.
Shove a microphone in his face and just be like, excuse me, I need to know about your thoughts about this very controversial topic.
Fandom is split, Jim. This is important.
White Council
that's
fans need
one
to
reason-
know.
Why I'm particularly fascinated by Dr. Peterson's endeavors in the last few years and
Oh, now we know
Oh,
why everybody's on this
no.
round
the
table.
developments
They're all dick suckers.
in the next few days.
I warmed to your invitation because I was born in China and I was a 7-year-old in the Chinese Revolution. And when I was later an Oxford student, I had
Does
dinner
that
with
mean
Sir
that he
Isaiah
fought
Berlin.
In the Chinese Revolution, I know that's bad grammar. He probably meant during the revolution, but when he said I was a 7-year-old in the Chinese Revolution, that implies that he fought in it.
This is true. I don't think that's what he meant.
I don't think it's what he meant either. I don't think he
Probably
meant
not.
like, "Father sold me into the war, you see."
But
I was
What?
a child soldier.
this is an edited, like, movie-style, documentary-style thing. Like, they could have just not... could have done a retake.
The great Jewish philosopher. And as it turned out, he'd been a 7-year-old in the Russian Revolution. And comparing notes on it, we were saying what the revolutions meant, but the lack of people today understanding them. And for me, Exodus, obviously a classic in its own right politically, the birth of a great nation and people. But many people don't realize this is behind the English Revolution and also behind the American Revolution. And to understand that throws an incredible light on the present crisis, because as I see it, you've got a basic clash between ideas coming down from the American Revolution,
Can I just say-
1776, which came from
You mentioned that this is very edited and they had the ability to use another take. Am I the only one? And maybe it's some kind of neurodivergency for me. I don't know. But am I the only one that is hearing very, very wet sounds coming from his mouth?
Yeah. God. Yeah.
Suspect it's part of his charm, though. So.
Oh no.
I don't think I've ever looked at a person in my life and
That's-
went, "God, you make a lot of wet sounds. That's charming."
I'm glad
This
we
is gonna
played
hit my
through this.
misophonia real hard.
I debated on whether or not I should show their introductions because I was like, well, it's not really gonna add to like the Exodus part, but they're spitting garbage like this. Glad I left it in.
Yeah, because inevitably I'm gonna be like, who the fuck is this asshole? So
Yeah.
Right.
it's good we get this out of the way.
the Torah and ideas which come down from the French Revolution and its heirs. And so we've got a profound crisis, and many people don't understand the roots of it on either side. So what you're doing, I think,
Okay.
is immensely
I
significant.
promise no one keeps stopping us every 30 seconds, but
That's what we're here for.
when he's saying that the American Revolution happened because of Exodus, I don't think that he's got that quite right.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm fairly
what makes you
certain.
think that?
I'm fairly certain there might have been at least a handful of people in the early like Puritan movements that saw themselves like the Israelites leaving. Like I can imagine that was at least some conversation.
Well, sure, yeah. People have
But
taken that identity on over the years, but
whether earned or
I'm
not,
pretty sure that it had a little bit more to do with like representative governments and tax rates and stuff like that, and not, hey guys, Exodus stuff.
fair.
But what do I know?
The English monarchy is the pharaoh to our Moses of
Then again,
America.
leave it to the English guy to get the reasons for the American Revolution wrong, so.
Oh, you got
That's
a license
fair.
for those slaves?
Well, I mean, there's like a good portion of America that would say, like, all the, the Confederate types that would say that slavery was fine, so they shouldn't have an issue with, or they would have an issue with Exodus from Moses' side.
Oh, Dr. Josh, there's a cue for you in the chat. I'm going to read it because I want to answer it first. There's a cue for Dr. Josh. Dr. Robert M. Price does not think very highly of you. What's your response? My response is eat a dick, Bob.
So Vishanti's just going to answer for Dr. Josh.
That's my answer. That's not Dr. Josh's answer, just so you know. I'm not getting him in
my
trouble.
God.
That was me. That was me.
Oh, that was a real question.
It's actually in there, yeah? If you don't feel obligated to answer if you don't want to.
I mean, I'm the kind of person that's never thrilled when people don't like me, but I feel like I mean that's not great, I guess, but
That's too
I feel
bad.
good. I
Yeah.
feel good about my track record. So
There's your answer.
You're also not a misogynist, so you got that going for you. Unlike Robert.
Vishanti's got all the shade. Let's go.
Listen, I know the tea on this whole thing, so...
Oh, I don't know the tea. Alright, you guys are gonna have to spill it later then.
Yeah,
Oh,
You guys
dear.
gotta fill me in the background. Apparently, I missed something.
later.
Dr. Orr, James Orr.
My name is James Orr. I'm assistant professor in philosophy of religion at the University of Cambridge, where I teach philosophy of religion and moral philosophy, theological ethics. And much of that work focuses on what you might call the Hellenic, that is to say, the fountain of Western wisdom in Greek philosophy. But too often I think we neglect the Hebraic, that is to say, the contribution to Western thought of the great Hebraic sources, and most of all, of course, the Torah, the Pentateuch. It's thrilling to be able to sit around and talk with these distinguished friends and with you, Dr. Peterson, about the book of Exodus. As Oz was saying, it has enormous significance historically, the English Revolution, the American Revolution, and more recently, many of the sort of liberation narratives that we're familiar with in the contemporary, from the contemporary political landscape and contemporary debates.
It's almost like it's a popular trope.
Yeah. I'm also, again, once more, we have not found somebody with a degree in any form of history. We have found people whose professions are on talking about
They're
philosophy.
people. Yeah.
And just as a person who had a very, very deep hyperfixation on philosophy for a long enough to make a whole channel about it, I don't give a shit what any philosopher thinks. That's just where I got from, like, rereading bunches of things in the SCP. I finally just went, wow, these are a lot of interesting perspectives. I've stopped giving a shit.
This round table is just an SCP.
Oh no.
An active
Oh
one.
my god,
we-
amazing.
Welcome to Debate Hub, Euclid
This
class.
stream is anomalous.
Well, the thing is, like, why are they all English, first off? Second off, like, why
Well,
are
we've only
none
gotten
of
halfway
them...
across the table.
Oh, okay. I mean, so far,
Mhm.
we're on the third one out of 6.
I
We
just-
still have the rest of the
I
table.
just want one person whose field of study is the thing we're talking about. That's what I want.
Should I ask? Should I do a poll?
Do you remember
Should we
that
ask?
time where I predicted that no one would have a degree in this field, in the relevant field?
Because I don't even necessarily need a degree. They can
I
be
think this is a troll. It has to be.
they can be
Someone's gonna try to move out in the
autodidacts.
way. Purify yourself. Why don't you purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka?
Like I'm okay if
Is that
even
what I
one
need
of
to
them
do?
is like fully autodidact when it comes to history.
Yeah.
I just want their profession to have something to do with it then too. Like either your field of study or your profession, something that is not just I talk about thinking. Okay, cool. We get it. You talk about thinking.
No, they're not one. I predict not one person will have.
You predict
a degree
not
in the relevant
one?
field.
Josh, how many do you think?
Not one.
we'll have a degree in a relevant field.
Yeah,
Either have a degree
I
in a
mean,
relevant
this is-
field or have a profession in a relevant field. One of the two.
that's fair.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. Like, I'm not sure. So I haven't watched this.
You mean you don't pay for the Daily Wire?
Oh, well. I don't know what the point is thus far. So if it sounds to this point that it's like we're trying to take aspects of, let's say, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, and to abstract them and then bring them back down in something from the modern period and see how it can inform us, which is fine. Like my dad used to do that with the Exodus story, right? He used to do construction. He'd be out there and something would go wrong with the job and it'd be off schedule, and you'd hear him sing, "Oh, my Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I got to do is follow." And to him, the historicity of the account or the archaeology behind it, or anything, like, it's mismit that shit, is what his tone would have said. What he was utilizing that narrative for was to say, like, God's with me, he's gonna get me through it, right? I just have to trust him. And so if that's all we're doing here, okay, but I mean, like, I don't know what the point is of this roundtable. So.
Right.
It's let's just try to get through the intro.
So I'm
sorry. Don't be sorry for having a take that's actually relevant.
Yeah, don't be sorry.
We're here for the opinions of everyone here. At least I'm here for that, because I'm not gonna have.
We're
anything
all
great to
here
contribute.
actually for the opinions of Dr. Josh alone.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's the only one qualified. I mean,
none of us are qualified, so.
I am
fascinated to be
purely
talking about these.
autodidactical. So
Issues, particularly when we get talking about the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments, the significance of this extraordinary claim, almost without precedent, that morality is given.
Wait,
not undiscovered.
without precedent? What?
Almost
That feels-
without
he said
precedent.
almost.
That
He
I
said
don't.
almost.
I don't give a shit about weasel language. No, almost without precedent. I'm sorry.
Yep.
The idea that morals
that's
are
very
given
incorrect.
the idea that morals are given from a higher power is not almost without precedent in Christianity nor Judaism. There are religions older than both of them with that idea firmly in mind. But okay, sure.
Almost without precedent, except for, a whole lot of other cultures who believe that their laws were handed down from a higher power.
I just
Are not simply invented and constructed. And that's one of, I think, many, many vital themes to our age that we'll be exploring productively in the days ahead, I hope.
Wait till he finds
Dennis
out
Prager.
that all laws
Welcome.
are just
wait. Why is
Peterson
Prager
and all of
here?
you, it's a joy to be.
What the fuck is Prager here?
I didn't tell Suris.
He's got his own university, so
I don't-
I
I don't give a shit about weasel language. Chesh, you have made me listen to a man's voice that I only ever want to hear in that, I forget the channel's name, but that one channel that makes eldritch abominations of every conservative think tank. That's the only way I want to hear this man's voice.
I told you guys we're here to suffer. We popped Vishanti's Jordan Peterson cherry, now we're making Suris listen to Prager.
Again!
Okay, well, I rolled a 17 on my constitution, so I think I'll survive Prager for now.
For now.
Oh, we doing skill checks? Hold on, let me see if I live.
Yeah, go ahead, make a roll.
Let me see if I survive. Hold on.
I think I'm going to be taking a lot of psychic damage.
Dr. Josh, you have a D20 handy?
What are they saying now?
Okay, so obviously his perception check failed. Got it.
Okay.
Let's see here. I got a 15, but I'm pretty sure I have a skill modifier of -2, because I'm really bad at stat allocation. So.
Okay, uh-oh.
That's rough. I was kind of expecting one of
yeah.
you to try a roll a persuasion check for me to skip Prager.
Look, I've played warlocks with negative charisma. It's very fun.
Ooh, well. We can talk about that later.
Whenever I played Vampire the Masquerade, I always max out like the charm skills. So
Stop trying to stall out Prager. It's not gonna work. You're not gonna distract me with Dungeons and Dragons and Vampire the Masquerade. You're not gonna do it.
What trimester are we trying to stall Prager into?
I am living my dream in my life being here.
It was his dream
And
to
that
be
is
here.
to spread the Torah to the world. I am a religious Jew.
He wants to spread the Torah to the world, so he's being a part of this thing that is behind the Daily Wire paywall. Got it.
And
yeah.
I'm blessed
Also-
to know biblical Hebrew. I started at the age of 5. I still have to translate to
All right.
English whenever I think of a verse.
No.
The
No, he
Torah
doesn't.
is
No, he
not
doesn't.
known to almost any non-Jew. The Torah is primus inter pares in the Bible, first among equals. I was raised, and I still
What?
believe that the Torah is.
Okay. I'm not going to go off on long rabbit trails about how he's talking about Judaism, but I just want to say that he's like, oh yeah, we're there to spread Torah to the world. Jews, famously known for evangelizing?
Yeah, well, because you have to
Literally
remember, though,
one of the religions that doesn't proselytize?
You have to remember,
what are you
though,
talking
Dennis
about?
Dennis
He's been hanging
Prager
out with
doesn't.
Christians for too long.
He doesn't just view his ideology as Judaism. He views it as Christio-Judaism. So he's naturally going to adopt a lot of that.
It's not a thing.
And I'm sorry, anytime
he hangs out. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, anytime you have to say something like, I still have to translate it into English when I read the Hebrew, it's like saying, to somebody that works for you, I'm your supervisor, right? Like if you have to say it, like you're not doing it very well. So I
He does
flex,
not
bro.
have to
$6.
translate when, like,
That's a really good
that is such
analogy.
BS.
So
Honestly, and
are
look,
you are you calling him a
even
liar?
Orthodox. Oh yeah.
We're not saying
Even
he's
Orthodox
lying.
Jews who grew up like studying Torah, Tanakh, Talmud, whatever, their secondary language might be English, but those schools primarily tend to be like Yiddish speaking. So,
Oh, right.
did he grow up speaking Yiddish first? Because he doesn't sound like he has a very strong, like, accent that way. I'm very confused. But yeah, he's lying. He does not have to translate Hebrew when he reads it. He's just trying to flex on people because he knows most Christians don't know a lick of Hebrew, so.
Hey,
Look at the special magic Jew.
he is their supervisor. Respect his authority.
From God. How God delivered it
Authorita
is
from
his
God.
business. I have no particular interest in the methodology, only in the ultimate authorship. And I've written 3 of the 5 volumes of a Torah commentary called the Rational Bible, including
Chill.
Exodus, which interestingly was the first one that I did, given that it has my favorite document in history, the 10 Commandments. And as I say on my American talk show,
What?
if you want to defund the police, there is actually a way. Have everyone live by the 10 Commandments.
What?
Then you
That's
can defund the
Oh,
police.
What?
what? What is that
False.
take? What is that
God, this
take?
guy's dumb.
Oh my fucking god.
Oh no.
Can we just keep going? Can we just keep? I don't want to go off on a rant. Can we just?
Yeah, skip the bit about the police. Skip the bit about the police.
So that is where I come from in this discussion,
He looks so
and I
smug.
trust you will all defer appropriately to a member of the chosen people.
See, this is exactly. Did I not just say special
Dr.
magic?
Stephen Blackwood.
Yep.
Thanks, Jordan. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm Stephen Blackwood. I'm the president of Ralston College in Savannah, Georgia, an effort to revive and reinvent the traditional university. I grew up
So it's
reading
not
the
that
Bible quite a
university?
lot.
Yeah, I was about to say, that sounds like a red flag to me.
Wait, I'm gonna look this up. What university did you say it was? It was in Georgia somewhere.
Savannah something, I think.
Savannah.
Chesh, could you replay the when you said
College?
the name?
Say on my
Hopefully I didn't put
American
it back too far.
talk show, If you want to defund the police, there is actually a way.
Gotta listen to this
Have
part
everyone
again.
live by the
Prager
Ten
is such a
Commandments.
blowhard.
Then you can
oh my
defund
He
the
is.
police. So that is
I would be
Prager
very
used gonna
interested.
I'm not gonna say what
in
I'm
this
I-
discussion.
I would be very interested to hear which of the Ten Commandments he thinks are
Yeah, we-
unique to the ancient Near East that would be something that he
things.
would call it out for that would meet this goal that he's set forth.
We wouldn't need to pay for
Very
law
interesting.
enforcement anymore because we didn't boil goats in their mother's milk.
I have to watch his podcast.
That's
or
not in the
something.
Decalogue. That's not
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean,
Decalogue, though.
Is it not worshiping another god? Is it the Sabbath? What is it?
Because
I
we are,
wonder.
I was gonna say
Oh,
we already have
yeah.
laws against theft and murder. So what exactly are we missing here?
I don't know. He probably believes a whole lot about the adultery thing and like divorce and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
Oh.
I mean, like, if
Well,
that's
divorce
if
isn't in
that's
there in the
case-
Decalogue either.
But I feel like any of the laws, save for the ones that are strictly Yahwistic, I'd be very. If those aren't the ones, then why wouldn't
Yeah, I
he
was gonna
turn
say, it's
to
not like
the laws of
three of them.
Ornama, or why wouldn't he Hammurabi or something? I don't understand. Anyway,
Well, see, those aren't a part of his Christian tradition.
He's
so
got to
why would he
pretend
follow
that his
them,
are unique.
etc.
Dr. Josh has already thought more about this than Prager has.
Discussion,
Well, to be fair, it's the
and I trust you will all defer appropriately to a member of the chosen people.
Blackwood.
Canned
Thanks, Jordan. It's a real
laughter.
pleasure to be here. I'm Stephen Blackwood. I'm the president of Ralston College in Savannah, Georgia, an effort to
Oh, Ralston.
Ralston College in Savannah.
Savannah.
yes, I'm also an
Ralston
older white gentleman,
College.
so that's why I'm around this panel. Thank you.
Yeah, I also like to
Hey.
suck Jordan
Hey,
Peterson's dick.
hey, guess what? Do you remember that time I said it's probably accredited? Unaccredited?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ralston College in Savannah, Georgia. The very first sentence, it's an unaccredited institution.
Oh
of
my God.
Higher learning.
Shocking.
I'm 2 for 2, baby.
So we've got
We've
2
also
unaccredited
only got-
universities here.
We've also only got one guy left and still no relevant field. And I brought the vote in beforehand. 85% said no and 14% said yes. We got one more left.
Oh, this is gonna be a problem. Oh, check this out. So Ralston College, it says it declared a commitment to freedom of speech.
Oh
and
boy.
that's your
Here's
first
another red flag.
Guess who the chancellor? Guess who the chancellor is of Ralston College?
Ew.
Jordan Peterson.
Oh my wait. In Savannah?
Savannah.
I could drive there. I could drive there.
But why
You're
would
in
you?
Georgia?
Yes, I live in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district.
You gonna go there with like
Oh God, I'm sorry.
a microphone and shove it in somebody's face and be like, "What made you think hiring Jordan
I have
Peterson
to
was a good
say,
idea?"
I have to say, Josh, like,
Well,
like
the money.
you say, you went, go there with.
To go there.
Would you go there with Dr. Peterson?
People just like it when I do that because I have small hands. All right. Anyway.
revive and reinvent the traditional university. I grew up reading the Bible quite a lot.
Wow.
I'd say the Bible gave me the primary images through which I came to understand myself and the world. Then when I went to
Almost like
university,
you grew
I
up in the West.
sort of stumbled into the discovery of philosophy and literature, especially of the Greek and Roman, you might say the backdrop to Western culture in the ancient sense. And since then, I've spent quite a lot of time thinking about the relation between that tradition and the biblical tradition and the way in which those are synthesized. And
I saw a couple of looks, so I thought I would pause. Thoughts?
I think Dr. Josh and I are on the same wavelength. Go ahead, Dr. Josh.
No, please.
No. I've spoken.
Sorry,
enough
did he?
for the moment.
Yeah, it sounded like what he said, and my memory is not great. So, if I get it wrong, please correct me. But it sounded like he said that the Greek world was the backdrop The
Yep.
ancient backdrop of
Yeah,
the Hebrew
Greek
Bible?
and Roman are the ancient backdrop of current and recent, like basically American history and society. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry, that's not what I heard him say. It
he
sounded
also
like what he was
remembered
saying is
halfway
that
through
the
that
Exodus was.
sentence.
Yeah,
And he was going to
that's
have to talk about the Exodus, and was like,
Yeah, there's a little bit of a contextual question mark around what this guy's saying, for sure.
Gotcha. Probably in his mind as well.
yeah.
A way in
Bunch of
which
these dudes are
that
like,
synthesis
also,
is fundamentally
your
what
other
gives
red flag
rise
is that
to
they're all like, oh,
our
Greco-Roman was the pinnacle of society.
Oh, yeah.
principles
Super
and
red
institutions
flag.
in the Western world. I suppose I'm particularly excited to be here because I, as others have said, do profoundly think that we're living in a time in which we've lost the images through which we can
Well,
make
Peterson
sense
looks so bored.
of ourselves and of the world in a way that's adequate to
Because you gotta think, like,
to
he's
the
joined the
belongings
Daily
of our own
Wire just
nature.
as a job offer,
Literally.
right?
This is an
Yes.
interview.
But also, the only people who say that, like, oh, Greco-Roman was the pinnacle of society and we've fallen away from it, those people are usually trad cats, and they are always far-right bigots.
They're
always.
scary as shit.
Like, I'm waiting for one of them to drop the word degenerate. That's how, like, I already have these guys' number. I'm just waiting for one of them to say the word degenerate, and then it's, like, in the bag.
So hopefully these images will come to be alive for us and for those who decide to listen to this
The
afterwards.
word lives.
Jonathan Pajot, another Canadian.
That's right.
Another
So I'm
Canadian.
Jonathan
Oh.
Pajot. I am an artist, and I'm someone who, for a very long time, has been reading the Bible and have been thinking about.
He's
Not
me.
one.
He's just
Not
a guy!
one.
Just the guy.
When I'm right, I'm right.
So he's just sitting
I
there.
called it.
His contribution is, I'm just a little guy. I'm just a little guy.
I'm just a dude.
I just do art.
Just
Hi,
a
I
little-
do an art.
I'm a little dude on the internet. I do art. I appreciate art. The art I appreciate specifically is art that is from the Greco-Roman area, and modern art is bad because reasons. That I'm imagining that because PragerU's done a fucking video like that.
No way. This guy, this Canadian
I bet
dude here, totally has a Tumblr account with all the art on
his
it. It's
alt-
just
his alt account is classic art enjoyer, and it's got like a marble statue. in the
It's got the Chad meme, but with like a filter that makes it look
no.
like he's a statue.
yes.
Trad art enjoyer.
all right. Let's hear what
Yes,
the artist
Shred Art
has
Enjoyer.
to say.
Don't put yourself down
Who
like
even
that,
cares
Chash.
about what the artist has to say? What?
Not one single qualified person on that panel.
Nope. Not even close, baby.
It more like an artist, I would say, in terms of structure, in terms of rhyme and rhythm. And so I'm interested in the book of Exodus more as a mystical text.
Wait,
And based in the
ancient
Christian, it's
literature
actually,
was
there's a
sometimes
small little book
poetic?
called The Life of Moses by St. Gregory of Nyssa, which is one of the foundations of Christian mysticism. And so I will be approaching the book mostly
Can
through
I
that,
just-
through how.
Can I ask if we had to take bets? You notice that they all either have their Bible open to Exodus, or there's something marking it. How much would you want to bet that it's because they couldn't find it again if their Bible closed?
I believe.
Oh, yeah.
You
yes.
see, when I was a kid,
Exorcist.
and I was in
they
Pensacola
had to
Christian
find the
Academy,
table of contents.
when I was in PCA, we actually had to do a fucking song to remember the books of the Bible in order. So if I had to learn it, they could learn it too.
Okay.
I mean,
Yep.
I just remember, and this always will stand out,
Second one.
is when people really know their Bible, and you say like, you'll hear them say like, "Oh, where are you reading from?" And they'll say, "Oh, it's page 612."
Damn.
Yes.
I feel like
Yes.
anybody who is doing videos like like PragerU and like the Daily Wire and like anybody who does like biblical readings, like the Transformed Wife and like your Paul and Morgans, and like any pastor should aspire to know the Bible well enough when asked for a reference they give a fucking page number. Damn. Respect.
At that point, they know
it's like,
their
yes,
Bible well
because
enough.
there's only one version and
Yeah.
one printing of the Bible ever.
Well, I mean, it's their whatever one they're reading. It doesn't matter. The point is like they just know it that well that it's just like, excuse me, Pastor, where are you reading from? Page 625. 3 paragraphs down.
It's just this reminds me, and I'll shut up, but this reminds me of that Psych quote where he says, "You have never read the Bible, have you? Genesis, Exorcist, Leviathan, do the right thing."
Yes.
This stream is already we are just getting through the intros, and this is already better than I could have imagined.
I heard my brain filled in the blanks on the right books, and I feel like that's a trauma response, Josh.
Yes, do that.
It took us 10 minutes into the video, and about how long we've been live? An hour? 40 minutes for Suris to get triggered.
Like 40 minutes. Yeah.
Look. He started saying do, and my brain was like, you know that like it's the square hole. Yes, the square hole. My brain was just like Leviticus. No, okay. Deuteronomy. No, please.
Oh, it describes a structure, a narrative structure, which is also a geographic structure, the mountain, the temple, the tabernacle, and how this fits with even our own perception of reality and how reality comes together, how
Yes,
chaos can
humans
be brought into
exist in
order. And so that is really the way that I'll be looking at it.
Pyramids.
So I'm really looking
Aliens.
forward to this very diverse discussion.
Excellent. So
What is diverse about this?
There's nothing diverse about a group of a bunch of old white men from the exact same like type of religious background who all equally have no experience in the relevant field. There's no diversity there.
It's so diverse, guys.
I know Dennis Prager's gonna be like, well, you see, I identify as a woman for the purposes of this conversation. This is a very diverse table now.
No, he would too.
He would.
He would.
one of the things that's really fascinated me about Exodus, apart from the fundamental structure of the narrative, which is escape from tyranny, sojourn through the desert, and then reemergence, hypothetically, into the promised land. It's a very classic narrative
Hypothetically.
structure.
Hypothetically?
They don't make it all the way
they
to the promised land.
they
in Exodus, but
literally
he is aware
say-
of that, right?
They literally say that, oh, you need to go to the place flowing with milk and honey. There is no hypothetical in the story. They are told you're physically walking to the promised land, and when they screw up, they are told, okay, we're adding years to your walking through. Literally, there's no hypothetical.
Also, literally no one makes it to the promised land in the entire Torah. That doesn't start happening until the book of Joshua. The Exodus in Exodus only takes up like the first 18-ish to 19-ish chapters.
Don't spoil that the next half of the
Last time any of
story
these
is in the next
people wrote
book.
this. Sorry, spoiler alert on a 3,000-year-old book.
It writes it like it's a Harry Potter novel. You have to find the end in the next book.
I mean, I just doubt that anybody at the table has actually read the story through. So,
Look,
Well, maybe that's what maybe that's what the table is about. They're gonna read through
Prager-
it and
spoiler alert,
I know
Judas.
Prager's read through it a bunch of time, but I don't think the rest of them have.
Judas betrays Jesus. Spoiler alert.
oh
this is like when I was
Dumbledore dies.
Judas,
I was
no.
watching. It's like when I was watching the Disney version of Davy Crockett, and I got down near the end, and he's run out of ammo in the Alamo, and he's got the barrel of his rifle, and he's swinging it at people coming up the steps, and I looked down at the VCR, and there's only like 3 minutes left, and I called my ex-wife, my now ex-wife, and said, "Hey, what's the deal? Is there like a part 2 to this?" She said, "What?" I said, "Well, I mean, it doesn't. How's he gonna get out of this?" I mean, he doesn't,
Oh.
Josh.
Oh, sounds like someone forgot the Alamo.
But that's what I said. But wait a minute, don't they always say like, remember the Alamo? Like, yeah, because they lost, dumbass. You know, of course.
That's because they lost. Yeah.
Because
It's like
they
my
lost.
dearest husband.
Oh.
They did lose badly, actually.
I thought you were gonna say she called you a dumbass, and then that's why you're not married
And
anymore.
then the divorce followed after that. You dumbass! I'm filing the papers.
And then she's gonna be like Steven Crowder's wife. It turns out Dr. Josh had a divorce lawyer already hired. Ooh, pew pew, topical.
If I speak on that, I
Why isn't Steven Crowder on this panel? Where's the funny man? Never mind. Have you guys ever watched like Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro side by side?
Can we move on? Because those guys, can we just move on?
All right.
In fact, is the manner in which God is represented as the primary spirit in the text. And so I've been toying with this idea that part of what the Bible is doing is describing a priority, a manner in which perceptions and actions might be prioritized. And a structure of priority is a
I've
hierarchy
heard
thing.
people talk about Jordan Peterson, but listening to him talk, he loves to hear himself talk, but he's not saying anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not saying anything.
Correct.
P.S. What was he talking about? God presents as the only spirit. You mean God who sent a separate entity that we call the Angel of Death, and God's presented as the only spirit. Okay.
Oh, he's the primary
What was he reading exactly?
I mean, quite frankly, I like to think that Jordan Peterson gets paid by the word, so that's why he talks like that.
He acts like it, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he's not saying anything. He's just saying a bunch of words.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's true. People were not exaggerating.
I'm so glad that I got to spring this on you. This is amazing. It's been a while since I've seen somebody see him for the first time.
I thought people were exaggerating.
Nope.
No, it was
When they
never
were like,
hype-
oh yeah, no, he talks all the time. He doesn't really say a lot, and he just uses a lot of words because that makes people think he's smart. And I was like, okay, yeah, you guys are probably just, exaggerating, hyperbole for the funny. And no. Oh my goodness. It's
pyramidal
worse.
structure, and something has to be at the top. And I learned from Carl Jung that whatever is at the top of your hierarchy of assumptions functions as God for you, whether or not you're religious. And maybe you have multiple things at the top, which
Everybody
just means that
believes
you're
in
confused.
God, actually.
And
Which...
It's a hierarchy, guys. Everything's a hierarchy. Because Jordan Peterson likes pyramids.
He said there's a pyramidal structure with one thing at the top. Like, yes, that's how pyramids work.
Yeah, he got
And
his...
then people who have two things at the top, they're just confused.
He woke up one morning when he was like 12, and he had experienced his first wet dream and had morning wood, saw a pyramid there, and was like, this is life!
So you just explained the plot of Silent
And
Hill 2.
everyone
Got
has
it.
a godlike... Oh my god. No, he then goes on to say that because people have different priorities in their life, your highest one, or ones if you're confused, are God for you even if you're not a theist? What?
Yeah, it's whatever you prioritize, except he's specifying like whatever you prioritize and like you can't, like falafel can't be at the top.
Look, all I'm
Why
saying
not?
is there can be two
Falafel's
things at the
delicious.
top. It's just called being polyamorous. You just have two
Okay,
things that
yeah.
are equally important at the top of your prio list, and they're people.
No, it's almost like Jordan
Fair.
Peterson's like hierarchy philosophy makes no sense at all.
I mean,
Shocking.
polycule rights.
One anarchism
There you go.
later.
then if Jung is correct, and I believe he is, then the question of what should be at the top really exists as the paramount question. And part of the way the biblical narrative represents that or addresses that is by describing God in some sense as a literary character, as Northrop Frye, a Canadian critic, pointed out. And one of the things that's remarkable about the Exodus text is that the highest ethical spirit to which we're beholden is presented precisely as that spirit that allies itself with the cause of freedom against tyranny. And that's
So he's... Alright,
A
I
lot of
will
words,
parse
man.
this. I will parse this and make this TLDR as possible. Jordan Peterson is saying
I know what he
that...
said. That's a lot of words.
It's okay, it's not just for you. Jordan Peterson just said that the hierarchy of the way the Bible is set up, showing God as the primary spirit, is representative in the text of Exodus, specifically as a force against tyranny. And he said that unironically.
Ignoring.
Yeah, considering some of the laws that he's literally about to give them, saying that he's like super into liberation and not tyranny is a little sus.
Or that angel of death we were all talking about earlier.
Everybody.
No, I was thinking about the slavery thing.
My name is God. I don't like tyranny. Follow all of my rules or burn. Okay.
No, it's not that.
And
well,
if you
that-
start agreeing with me, I'm going
I
to
will
harden
point
your
out
heart
just-
and force you to follow the rules.
I will point this out just because I'm pedantic and being the only Jew, I have to be pedantic. You're welcome. Is this whole obey me or I'll burn you for everything? That's a Christian concept. Like,
Oh, I know.
that's not something that we care. Yeah. But I know you're like forward Christian, but it's just like, this God's more like, hey, I'm really super not into tyranny. So when you're procuring yourself slaves from other nations, what? It's like freedom for me, but not for thee. Yeah.
Got any thoughts on that, Dr. Josh?
Yeah, I mean, Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 28 like spring to my mind. You know, once Israel enters into this, vassal treaty with Yahweh, then the blessings and curses stand on them. So I mean, it's like, do what I tell you, and then I'll send you rain and I'll give you lots of produce, but fuck with me, and your one man will
die.
Put 1,000 of you to flight, and the heaven will be his iron and earth will be his brass, and sucks to be you.
I wasn't aware that.
So just
Yahweh-
obey me. It'll be good though. It'll be good.
I wasn't aware that Yahweh was Walter White.
Can he be, though? Mania for 5 Super Chat said Jordan speaks as someone trying to complete the word limit on their research paper.
Accurate.
Put forward as a prime
Accurate.
ethical dictum. So if it's the voice of God speaking to you, so to speak, then it's going to call you out of slavery, maybe the slavery of your own mind, the slavery of external conditions, the slavery of the tyranny.
Hang on.
It's going to call you
It's
out of
the
that.
blunt. Man, what if, like, it's tyranny of the mind?
I'm clipping this and making it a YouTube short.
Great, my legacy.
Yep.
Way to go.
Yep.
You are
Thanks.
now
Slavery
content.
into freedom, even if
What?
I just said you are now content.
Yay!
that pulls you into the
Great.
desert. And that's really something to know, and I think something that's deeply true. All right, so having said that and introduced everybody, we're going to start with the text, and as I said, I'll read it, and I'll make comments when they strike me, and we'll have everyone jump in,
great.
and away we'll go. So, Exodus 1. Now, these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin.
I'm gonna say this. It's way more interesting listening to people read the Bible when you're listening to them chant or sing it than just reading it flat and boring. Like
You could have literally also picked anybody besides Jordan Peterson at the table to have read that.
Why do you
I mean,
think?
it's just trying to imbue every word with some sort of emphasis.
Yeah.
Everything I say
You
is
highlight
significant.
everything and you highlight nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that problem with Eris in Kingdom Hearts, the first one.
Really, just for, like, I can't not tell people the trivia. In, like, Judaism, the books are not named, like, subject-wise. They're named after, like, the first important word of that particular book. So this book is called Names, or Shemot in Hebrew, and because the first significant word of that particular scroll is, these are the names. and that's why it lists a whole bunch of names. So Genesis, it's more or less the same. It's in the beginning. That's what that one word is in Hebrew. Like, this one's names, because it starts out with a bunch of names, listing the cast of characters like old movies used to do before it starts. And yeah, the next one's called In the Wilderness, because guess what that book's about? And then the next one is words.
Vaikra.
Literally. Words. Yeah, and then you got Vaikra, and he called because he called and he was like, hey, get over here. But not as cool as Scorpion. That would be cool, though.
We're educational over here at this show.
I think the next time that I read Leviticus, which is what we're talking about, Vaikra, I'm going to have God say, get over here.
Oh, there you go. I like it.
It's like when Nathan says, Atah Ha'ish. Every time I read that in English, it's like, you the man.
You're the man.
Exactly how that goes, but
yes. It's
like when
yes.
What is it?
Man.
What is the is it the the stones that the girls at camp they have a necklace. It's broken in half, and I can't. Is it mitzvah stones?
Like
where it says, it's Laban and Jacob saying, "May God watch over you and me while we are apart." And when they're leaving camp, some Christian summer camp, having been like there for 3 weeks and made the best friends of your life, they're crying and saying, "You have this half of the stone, and I'll have this, and may God watch over you and me while we're apart." When really the story is like, motherfucker, see this stone? I won't come across you to kill you, and you won't come across it to kill me. May God watch over you. And on you.
It's literally him going, he's got his eye on you.
And now I know where the Brothers
Like,
War story in Magic the Gathering
so
came
cute
from.
and romantic.
Nice.
Dan
We're done.
and
Realize
Naphtali.
how, like, intense some of these texts are and how hysterically funny. Like, just don't, because you read it and you just look, these are boring words.
I should
You
have
gotta find
said
someone
it.
who knows how to tell a story.
I should have set it up so that way I could show like 2 people on the screen bigger at a time, and so that way when like Vishanti and Dr. Josh want to go, it would just go to just the 2 of them, and it'd be great. And then when me and Suris like spin off into nerddom, off we go. Because we would rather do anything than listen to fucking Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Suffer.
And Asher.
Painful.
And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For
God, his
Joseph
sperm
was
count
in
was
Egypt
low.
already. And Joseph
Not all
died,
at the same time.
and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them.
Is waxing exceedingly mightily? Is that like just jacking? Is that jizz?
It's
No,
a
you
really
don't-
old
you-
way of saying they got big and strunk.
You don't
That
want
could
wax
still be
for
that thing.
Chesh,
No?
not every religion needs a dick joke.
Every religion is a dick joke.
Oh, every religion has dick jokes.
They better.
I opened up the
we
book
did get a
of
question.
Phalum.
We did get a question from Dr. Tapioca Weasel. It says, "Hey Chad, I just wanted to drop in and ask if everyone here acknowledges an ultimate metaphysical primary grounding in the laws of logic and reason. Anyone?"
Listen, I just don't think that the good doctor can instantiate the necessary preconditions for the ultimacy of the grounding of impossible possibilities. If you can't instantiate that necessary precondition, then you're just barring from the Christian worldview.
I just don't think.
Well done.
I understood some of those words.
That's why he's got the PhD.
Yeah.
That's why he's got the bow tie.
You got the big brain. Oh. Which is
I know.
more valuable.
Oh my god. Shit.
I think it just means that I've suffered through Darth Dawkins.
Too much. Too much.
It's a trauma response. We understand.
Sometimes I'm happy. Sometimes I'm happy that I swapped to doing mostly politics and less theology. I forgot how much of a headache this side of the internet is.
So Jacob
welcome.
and the Israelites are presented as sojourners into Egypt. So they're foreigners, they're strangers in a strange land, you might say, and they came in under the guidance and patrimony of Jacob, who had a good relationship with the power structure in Egypt, but he dies and the generation after him dies, and
Hey,
relationships between the Israelites and the Egyptians become strained.
Is commenting
can
while you
literally
read
watch
okay?
Jordan Peterson struggle to add more words to the sentence as he's like going.
Yep. The brain turns.
I mean, this overview is
hamsters are just like,
roughly. It's like roughly what you would read with like a 7-year-old synopsis of the story, but he's really trying to make it sound deep.
It's like he's not actually reading the synopsis of Exodus. He's actually reading the synopsis of like the movie The Ten Commandments.
He's gonna break into the Prince of
Sesame
Egypt
Mill
or something.
version, you mean?
Yeah.
Comment at any point you want.
Okay,
Yep.
so just for all of your edification, in Jewish life, if there are 10 best-known verses in the entire Torah, a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph, is one of the 10.
That's not the first one I would have picked.
It summarizes the human condition of ingratitude perfectly.
Does it?
Oh.
Okay. I know that when Dapper catches up to this, he also is going to laugh at that for the same reason I did. Literally the most famous like quote from the entire Torah, if you were to ask a Jew right now, would most likely be the Shema. We say it twice a day. Literally.
I mean,
what is he
I
talking
know
about?
that one.
I
like-
would not. You're right. And he's like, oh, no, it's this one, random verse about Pharaoh that we really only read during Passover. But no, it's one of the top 10.
See, I've got like PragerU stuck in my brain, and I just recently did a video about CRT. And in the video about CRT, I went looking at like all these think tanks that are like PragerU side of fence things, and like how often I saw quotes from those groups of people being like, oh, yeah, this minority group just doesn't appreciate what America does for them as much. Like, how dare the minority group criticize or have criticisms of the great American system? And that's all my brain heard as soon as he said it was a story of ingratitude. I was just like, black. Gross.
Barf.
Ugh.
Joseph had saved the Egyptians from starvation, and the next pharaoh doesn't even know his name.
So he's forgotten the debts.
He has forgotten the debts he has entirely. But this is, as I say, the human condition. We have forgotten our debts in America to Washington, Madison,
of your mother.
Jefferson.
Hold up. So a leader doing leader stuff means that the people owe him a debt. Isn't that just what you're supposed to do as a ruler? Like protect the people and provide like at least somewhat for their welfare?
Feeling like you owe a debt to the leader who did great things for your country, but feeling like you owe a debt to that leader is one of the things that I would attribute to, say, more like monarchical systems. Like, yes, you owe a debt to the great leader for doing the thing. Pay your tithes, citizen.
There seems to be like
It's
maybe
also
this is
very authoritarian.
It is. Maybe this is just my interpretation of it though. But wasn't like Joseph this is Joseph of the Technicolor coat, right? If that Joseph was Hebrew and then he was ruling over Egypt, he's saying that the Egyptians forgot and then therefore enslaved the Jews despite what the Jewish people did for them.
Yeah, because this one specific Jew who was literally governing as, in the text, he was governing part of Egypt. They're like, oh, no, those ungrateful Egyptians, they owed the Hebrews. Like, no.
Right. But he's also saying
bizarre.
that as
Literally,
as if the nation of Egypt now owes just Jewish people.
Oh
in
no,
general.
he's gonna spin this into like, oh no, people have left their theological roots, we should get back to the Bible, blah 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 blah. It's like owe these leaders, and right now he's talking about like early American leaders.
Yeah.
P.S. We don't owe them shit. Some of them own slaves. I don't owe them shit.
I mean,
so,
to be
don't
fair,
think people
they're
forgotten them
dead.
either. This is true.
And they're dead.
Like
so.
what am I gonna do? Go over to their grave and
They
just
did
be like,
have
"Hey,
some
buddy."
Good things to say.
Dance.
They helped
Dance,
set up a
Suris.
country. Like, that's not easy. They tried, to win their independence, and they succeeded barely. That's also not easy. I'm not, like, knocking them for that. Thanks, France. But also, he's just going to say, we owe them. Like, not all of them were fundamentalist evangelical Christians, spoiler alert. Lots of them were deists. I don't think he's going to like that.
I don't think he's going to acknowledge that.
That would be very, very bad for my narrative if I were to acknowledge those things you said.
And there arose a new generation in America who knew not Madison. That could be a perfect verse.
Right. Okay.
Literally every kid learns about Madison.
Now there arose up a new
And I
king
am
over
Alexander
Egypt,
Hamilton.
which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us.
Shush. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. You know how like super xenophobic and anti-immigrant these far-right crap turds are?
Yeah.
What I think is funny is that narratively, like the bad guys in the story are the ones who are like, ew, all these foreigners. We don't want them foreigners coming in our country and outbreeding us. We should enslave them.
Yep.
Or oppress them.
That's what you get for
Those are the bad guys in the story. Do you think that irony hits any of them at any point?
No, not really.
That requires self-awareness.
You have to remember, there are people... What was that one post that got deleted off Twitter today? Where the one, like, girl who claimed she was a teacher said that, hey, I don't agree with Hitler, but maybe he had a point.
That one. Oh, God. No.
Yeah, I saw that one.
No. She was like, yeah, genocide was really bad, unless it's against this one group that I hate.
Yeah, but maybe. As soon as you say, hey, I don't agree with Hitler, but...
There should never be a but. There should never be a but. Unless it's like, I don't agree with Hitler.
In fact, have to hand it to him.
But if he had stayed in art school, like that's probably the only I don't agree with Hitler, but that I'm okay with.
Right.
And so get them up out of the land. There's an accusation of a crime before it's committed, right? These people are just a threat and a plague, and so we can't trust them, and that's part of this ingratitude as well, and a breakdown of trust, and that definitely sets the stage for conflict, a breakdown of trust. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters
Hard cut.
to afflict them with their burdens.
Nobody else got to say anything about that
And they built
verse.
for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. So the response to the hypothetical crimes of the Israelites was to enslave them. And one of the things we should notice very early on in this is that the book of Exodus regards that move of enslavement as fundamentally wrong. It's like an axiomatic precondition of the narrative itself.
Yeah. That's like going, man, I can't believe the protagonist's wife died in the first 3 minutes of the movie. It's almost like that's narratively set up so we have a plot. God.
I can't believe the great Deku Tree died! Damn it!
I can't believe this story has conflict.
Yeah, I can't believe.
Wow.
Gee, it's not like we're trying to tell a story or anything.
Having a premise for of course it makes sense that fucking Jordan Peterson is just like, what do you mean you have a point to what you're saying? You're not just saying words at me? Baffling. What
I was gonna say about the TV show Justified is that there's one episode in the first season where they meet a guy who's just obsessed with collecting the paintings of Hitler, and they're like, wow, this guy is like really weird. This is not okay. And it comes to find out at the end of the episode that because he hates his dad so much, he's decided to vent this anger by collecting all Hitler's paintings, burning them to ash, and storing them in jars on shelves in his house. And he's like, and I won't stop until I burned every last one of those shitty paintings. And you're just like, okay, that's
a pretty strong
healthy.
daddy issue. Like, we're talking like Andrew Tate level of daddy issue here, but
that's yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a good thing to
he's
do.
played by Robert Picardo, which makes...
Hey, I love Robert Picardo. Yes, 10 out of 10.
So yeah, you should watch that episode. It's pretty entertaining.
I should watch that episode.
Woo!
Called Justified? Noted.
Mm-hmm.
And modern people, I suppose, don't find that surprising because we all believe that slavery is wrong, but it isn't
But do
obvious
they?
that most of the
He
countries...
says that
Do
like it's a
they?
bad thing. Well, you know, humans now think slavery's wrong.
Well,
We
this
should go
is
back to
the
the old
asshat
days.
that said something like, sure, I mean, rape being no longer a, property, offensive, property. Like, yeah, okay, so that's good, I guess, that that women have that right now. But is it really the best way? Like,
It's
nothing
messing
that
with
this
the
guy says.
hierarchy pyramid.
Jesus.
Yeah. More than one
I'm
thing at
not-
the top of the pyramid. Error.
Women at the top of the pyramid. That's illegal. You can't do that.
You see, you can't actually have
The past-
at the top. That's chaos.
Right. That's like an inverted pyramid.
Gosh. No, and again, I'll say it again on chat. Silver Harlow, no, there is a literal episode of Justified in season 1 where Robert Picardo plays the character who collects all of Hitler's shitty paintings, burns them to ash, and keeps a jar on his shelf. I own these DVDs. I've seen them like a million times. If White Collar also did an episode that was similar, cool, but I've never watched White Collar.
One
so
thing that we're gonna all end up disagreeing on is gonna be like the time code of this show that Shoutout watches.
practice slavery, regarded it as wrong. And so this invisible ethic that already permeates the narrative has a revolutionary aspect in that sense. But the more they afflicted them,
See,
the more they...
sorry, that's
No to be sorry.
like,
Go.
That's a little vexing. Because it's not slavery that the Hebrew Bible considers to be bad as a social institution. It's enslaving the Israelites.
Specifically.
That's the point. And this is where I do not like this bait and switch. Apologists do this all the time, obviously. But, you read through a passage like Leviticus 25 and it says, okay, look, you used to be able to keep Israelites as debt slaves. You're not allowed to do that anymore. You can't treat them as debt slaves. And it's like, aha, see, there's progress here. God is working them out of that. But then it says, so if you want slaves, you get them from the foreigners.
Right.
It's like loans, right? When you read through Deuteronomy and it's like, don't take loans, don't take interest on the loans that you give to your fellow Israelites. It's not that taking interest is bad. It's just charging interest to fellow Israelites is bad. There's not this moral component to it in the way that I think
it's just racism.
he's trying to suggest.
Right.
They just replaced the things they arbitrarily said were bad with racism. That one good. You see, slavery bad when of your own race. Slavery good when of other people.
Bigotry bad towards us, but not towards other people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also...
Sorry,
go ahead.
Like, just to be, very, very clear here, that was nothing, there's nothing distinctive really about that, in the Hebrew Bible. So this sort of thing where, something being done to the citizens of your populace, of your country or whatever, or of your city or whatever, is different from foreigners. That wasn't different in the ancient Near East. The Hebrew Bible is very much on par.
All I'm saying
with that.
is...
So, like, nobody... I don't think anybody should hear me saying that, look how awful, the Hebrew Bible is or something. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, but it's holding this out, which is an apologetic move to try to say, see, we should be basing our morals on this ancient text. Because look, here, right at the outset, it says that slavery is immoral. Yeah, it doesn't really work that way.
If you believe in it that much, you shouldn't have to be trying to bullshit and circumvent what it's actually trying to present. What was that?
Well,
Suris?
I mean, again, people like this guy, they use it more as a tool for the rhetoric they've already picked.
Oh, right.
And that's the way most people use it. So they're just doing
that to me is just disrespectful of the book itself and whatever it is that you're actually trying to pony off of.
I mean, yeah,
all Jordan Peterson's trying to say is it's okay to be white.
Literally later on in... Well, he doesn't say that. But yeah, it's this idea, we know slavery's bad now, but like, we're just gonna not talk about the parts where it's explicitly commanded later on.
Because technically,
so dishonest.
if they do the whole like look at what this book says about slavery. Slavery bad in this book. You go, okay, cool. So what kind of slavery did America have? Well, it was one where we bought slaves from other nations outside of our own, and then we brought them in. Okay, so what about that slavery? Because our own constituents in the United States made a point to quote those verses in defense of slavery. But, just ignore American history.
Exactly.
This is what happens when you don't have a single historian on the panel. Oh my god.
Right.
Oh my god.
Or like a biblical expert. Even I was able to do better.
Which none of them are. Yeah. Miles better.
Dr. Catfioca Weaselfer 20 said, the Bible doesn't endorse slavery. I mean, yeah, I read the whole book about how it does, but it's negated by a typo in the second last line of page 91, as this verse of, if sick, often cited, so who cares?
Yeah,
Amazing.
this is what happens when you edit your own books. This is, you copy edit them.
Yeah.
Every time I cover biblical gender roles, I remember he has an editor. And here we are.
It's...
Yeah.
Still better than Ken Hovind.
You know what, though? I just finished, and I'm working on the copy editing now of the second edition of that book. And I'm sure that there will be more typos because it's gone from like 200 pages to 700. So
That's exciting. Congratulations.
I'm sure you're paying someone professionally to do it, but I also am available if you need a second pair of eyeballs.
I was not paying someone to do it.
Read it backwards.
Okay.
Okay. Reading something backwards is always the way that I double check anything. If you read it backwards, it stops your mind from just filling in automatically. So if you read your sentences backwards, it catches typos and spelling mistakes and grammatical errors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is a skill I don't have.
It's the same kind of thing as...
Shooting my own horn, though, because I really am available. You don't have to pay me. I'm just saying,
That's
you
really
probably
sweet.
had a professional doing it, but I made extremely good grades in college. So, like,
you gotta send them your CV now.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's a nice skill to fall back on because, people always need a second pair of eyeballs because you read your own stuff so many times you don't see it. So that's why you gotta have editors.
Thank you.
Oh, we'll set you guys up to chat in the background.
Multiplied
That's what this was.
and
It was
grew,
networking.
and they were grieved because
This is
of
what
the
I'm here
children of
for.
Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, and they made their lives better with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All
Did
their
they now?
service, wherein they made them serve, was with rigor. That reminds me, that part of what happened in the
20 months,
under the Nazis
almost
with
2 years.
with work
Jeez.
camps and in the gulags
my
as well.
God.
There we
This
go.
idea that you identify your enemies and then you
Oh my
sentence them
God.
to
Thank you,
hard
Silver J.
labor
I
in your
appreciate it.
service against their will. And
You mean that police issue and jail issue that Prager brought up earlier? No, not prison.
No, just have them
Okay.
follow the Ten Commandments. Problem solved.
I know
Uh,
I know it's naive of me, and I was like, maybe we'll get through this without a reference to the National
No.
Socialist Workers' Party, but no.
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 Why would you think that? Give up hope, all ye who enter here.
I did not see that reference coming, but here we are now.
so you see this idea echoed very early in this story and something that's definitely echoed through the 20th century.
Yeah.
So
But there's really this idea that
At least somebody else got to
what
talk
the
about this
Pharaoh
passage.
is doing is wants to reduce Israel to potential for Egypt, basically. And you'll see it later when he wants to get rid of the men. He just wants women. And so in this image, and it repeats even the story of Abraham, how the Pharaoh wants to take his wife. It's about taking the potential of another people and try to subjugate it to yourself.
So it's a reflection of
The
instrumental
women's.
usage.
That's right.
Yeah, and so, you can see that in people's proclivity to use one another interpersonally, because when you're talking to someone, you can decide a priori what you want from them, and then you can bend your words and your interactions so that you exploit what they have to offer for your purposes, or you can engage in...
That's called manipulation, Jordan. There's one single word for that. You don't have to over-explain it.
I would just love somehow to get them to pause and read Deuteronomy 20:10-14, like just right now after him having said that, like because that's the passage about what to do when the Israelites go to war against people that are outside of Israel proper, because you're supposed to kill all of them.
Take all the women for yourself.
Kill the men, take the women.
Yeah, the men are all
Only if
killed.
they haven't had sex. Yeah.
I like how he's trying to utilize philosophical language to justify what is like what the Shanti said, manipulation from like because he's the psychologist on the panel, and I just want to see if the philosopher calls him out, the super hoity-toity guy, and if he calls him out, he better call him out in Latin. Savage Cobra for 5 said, and when the
I want
Israelites
to
got
get
rid of
off
all
this
the men
planet
later
so
on,
badly, and I hate that the only option is Elon's starship, but there is no ethically sourced rides over there.
This was common practice. You kill the men and take the women. Like that's not unusual.
Yep.
Acting like it's, oh, I can't believe they did this horrific thing. Like literally everyone was doing that.
This dialogue where the purpose is mutual enrichment, and that what would you call it, instrumental end doesn't dominate. So,
and you can experience it like at least the mystical fathers, they talk about Egypt also as representing your own passions. That is, you become a slave to something, and then you become an instrument of that thing. Right? So it's like I don't know, anything that you have, like you like to eat, and then you're there, and at first, when eating knows you, like when your passion knows you, then you're fine. It's in the right order. Things are in the right order. But when your passion or desires or whatever behavior you have forgets you, then you become an instrument of it. Right. Like think of a drug addict, where everything they do serves this tyrant. And so all their potential.
He's talking about the hierarchy triangle that Peterson brought up at the beginning, where falafels are at the top, and if falafels are at the top, you're going to have a bad time. Because now you're being driven by falafels instead of by God.
I would rather be driven by falafels.
Same.
What if Egypt just like represents addictions in your mind, man? Like your passions, you know? They need to know you, and you need to know them. Like, but if you forget that, you're a slave, man.
It's angel dust, Holmes.
It's angel dust. Oh, PCP.
It's like taking out, ripping out a piece of the Bible and like cutting it up and shoving it in a pipe.
Just imagining that episode of South Park where Cartman's cutting up the like skin of the KFC chicken, trying to snort it as Colonel Sanders is coming, but it's Jordan Peterson coming, and there's there's bits of the Bible you're cutting into lines. Like, God, I've just got to get this scripture.
Yeah.
You get reduced to a potential for a behavior, you know? And that can be
so
seen
that's for a
politically
subordinate deity in some sense. That might be your stomach or your lust, and so that's very interesting too, because the word Israel means we.
My lust is a deity
who struggle with God, and so
just
what that would mean psychologically is that that which should be at the highest place, which is the part of you that's struggling with the highest, is then subordinated instrumentally to something that should be lower in the ethical hierarchy. And that could be your own inner tyranny, and it could be someone else's instrumental will, or some state's instrumental will.
I'm sorry. Did he just use the struggling with God in a negative way?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You gotta remember, he's the quote atheists here, so like he's the one that can say that.
He's also like he's just pushing his like hierarchy idea, like this ethical hierarchy, and there's a hierarchy, there's a fight inside of you, and you've got to put God at the top, because if you don't, then something else is, and then you're making God subservient, and that's just not the natural order of things.
And then you've got to make something else God.
Are we listening to a sermon? Because I've heard preachers talk about how like, no. See, God gave you all these desires. He just wants you to have like boundaries on them, because, you know, it's okay to have sex, but only in the boundary of marriage. And it's okay to, you know, talk, but you should only guard like your speech and say good things. It's like, I literally feel like he's about to hit like youth pastor voice.
I remember when I was in PCA and I was hearing this exact conversation, but it was about Pokemon and the Nintendo 64. It was literally them going, those are literally in non-denominational, so basically Baptist light circles, the narrative goes, whatever you are prioritizing the most in your life, that is your God, and you're not supposed to put any gods before God. So by that logic, they would say, yeah, your Nintendo can be God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they treat it as
football
if
team.
whatever is taking priority in your life at that time, you now are somehow worshiping it, or you're somehow
that's an idol
being driven by that and only that thing. It's absurd.
What's funny is that that's a uniquely Protestant thing, because when I've talked with friends of mine, and even like people I've had debates with who are Catholic, they've got like a 3-tier system when it comes to worship, where there's a type of worship that's there for the saints, a type of worship that's there for God, and a type of worship that's there for like people and things you love. And so it's not like it's not the same thing that you get with evangelicals, where they go, no, it's all worship, and if you do it the wrong way, God mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big mad. All right, we're gonna.
It's really toxic, though.
We are getting close to about an hour and a half. I don't know how you guys are feeling. If you want to go for 2 hours, or if you want to wrap up at the hour and a half.
We haven't even really gotten into their.
We're 20 minutes in, man. They're just saying nothing. This is it.
Oh, I thought this was gonna break into like. Actual. Okay, wow.
God, no! This is just what it is. This is 10 episodes. This is 10 episodes long, and they're 2 hours and 20 minutes each.
Wait, Chesh, it's not 10 episodes long. It's 16 now.
Was it 16 now?
It was still
10 episodes.
going.
It is now 16.
It's still going.
And like they're all 2 hours.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Are they going through the whole book, or are they just going through the story of the Exodus?
They're just picking out fucking shit in regular order. It's just all this. It's the whole thing is this.
And see, for me, and I probably will have to go after the hour and a half, but because
no
Oliver
problem.
will get me up at 4, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I figured it was starting to get late.
But I don't have a problem with this sort of reader response interpretive model, because this is very much like watching a facilitator lead a Sunday school class, an adult Sunday school class. Like this is what you see, right? They read a text and then they just sort of all say how it makes them feel and what it reminds them of. And the thing is, I think that's great. I wish Christianity were just like that. The problem is, because when you do that, you filter it through what you already know. You have a moral set, you have an ethical system in place. And so when you read something like slaughter the Amalekites, you're like, what does that really mean? Right? Because it can't mean that.
Right.
And so you pick up something else. I wish that everybody would do it that way. The problem is that they do it with their own little reader response thing and then say, this is how you should interpret it.
Right.
That's where it becomes a problem.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that kind of kicks off our last words. So, Vishanti, do you want to?
Well, what I was going to say is there's such a really interesting and bizarre conflict there, because the same people that are like, hey, this is what this verse means to me, they also literally will quote the verses that say like, oh, but no scriptures of any private interpretation when you start disagreeing with them.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have the Holy Spirit, so you can't really understand it.
Yeah.
Of course
not.
No true Scotsman
inside me. Otherwise, I just will never be able to learn how to read.
Or interpret literally anything.
That's what they said, right? I'm not paraphrasing, right?
Yeah.
Right. But it also like kind of adds this extra layer of like, how do you even then start attempting to evangelize at all, or bring your religion to anybody else ever?
Yeah.
That's why there's, thousands of Christian denominations, because they'll disagree with each other and then jump off and start a whole new church. So.
Of course.
I want to divorce my wife. I'm gonna go build a building to go worship in.
I thought you were gonna say I'm gonna go to Build-A-Bear.
I'm gonna start my own church.
I'm gonna go to build a religion.
Build-A-Bear.
we're gonna take this, and we're gonna take this, and we're gonna take this, and we're gonna stitch it all together.
Can you please put the little heartbeat
Oh
chip
my
inside
God.
my religion,
Henry
please?
VIII is the one that invented Build-A-Bear. It's just invent a religion. Build a religion.
All right, I think we're
Which
gonna
is great,
start.
like, okay, well, here's my not final word about the whole thing, but
Yeah.
the last important thing I'll say is it's always interesting to me to listen how absolutely verklempt and they get the vapors that Christians are when people disagree with them, and they can't handle this. And I'm like, literally, Judaism has entire study houses where we do nothing but discuss the text and disagree with each other.
Right.
In fact, we love recording our disagreements so much. We have 40-something volumes in 2 different Talmuds where we do that.
I mean, that's cool.
And
I think that's what people should be doing with
we
like
have-
law and stuff.
We don't just read a text, we read everybody's thoughts and comments on it. And it's like, you never get just one point of view, so it's like people getting all butthurt. Like, I can't believe there's a disagreement. Like,
Listen, that
duh.
sounds healthy, and I'm gonna have to ask you to stop. Respectfully. All right, let's start with Suris, end with Vishanti, go the other way. Well, tell us who you are and where you're at, and don't fuck me this time, like you did at the beginning, you bunch of losers.
Nobody did that. Nobody. We were all honest with ourselves and the audience. And if you can't handle that, Shesh, that sounds like a you problem.
Listen here, you little shit.
I will let you die in bot lane.
Oh, you would too.
I would.
You would too.
I would laugh about it.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
But
well, I guess that's fair.
But okay, so my name is Suris. I do political commentary for the most part. I also still do atheist content, not as much as I used to because it's just not as much of my focus anymore. But it is still a thing that's done on my channel. Past that, I also stream a lot. It's where all of my content comes from. If you want to see a more chill atmosphere where I'm mixing things like doing gaming as well as talking about the most recent bill that comes through with the goal of stripping people's human rights away so that the Justice Department can then put a hammer on Tennessee for stripping people's human rights away. You know, fun, happy stuff with no conflict whatsoever. Yay.
Yay! And Dr. Josh, I also got a super chat for you specifically that says, Hell's Bells, empty night, right?
Oh my god, that is a Dresden.
That's not the super chat I think they were talking about. I think the
I don't
super chat
see
is
another
when the
one.
Israelites got rid of all the men later.
No, that was somebody else. Maybe he meant Suris but
you
said
serious?
Josh. He might have meant Suris and said Josh.
The confused look on my face may suggest further evidence that
All right, who are you? Apparently, people are getting you too confused.
Sorry. So yeah, I'm Dr. Josh. Megan runs Digital Hammurabi and is the new host, or is the host of the new Misquoting Jesus podcast with Bart Ehrman. So she's actually the famous one now. So I don't do a lot on the channel anymore. My work is primarily done doing interviews on other people's channels. It seems like the only thing I'm good to talk about now is slavery.
Oh no, you've been typecast.
I'm just finishing.
Oh no!
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but I've got, but I am the author of the Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament, volumes 1 and 2. So, but if you go to Amazon and type in Joshua Bowen, everything that I've written will come up. But yeah.
Go find Dr. Josh, and if you want to have Dr. Josh on to talk about something other than slavery, maybe send him an email.
Yeah, I'm sure you're kind of getting over that.
You're welcome
done.
here to talk about anything you want anytime, Dr. Josh.
Thank you.
What
It's
you got
just
first,
the
Vishanti?
apologists, man. If they'll stop bringing it up.
Oh.
Just really like it, okay?
So yeah, I'm Vishanti, and I just killed a spider. So that's.
Oh, that's
why
what that
I'm here.
was. Spider
Yeah.
panic.
Just saying. Listen, I respect their point in the food chain. I am fine with them doing what they do. They are required not to do it within my field of vision. That's it. That's the only restriction. Just do what you do outside my field of vision. Then you can live as long as you need to, and that's fine. But no, once I see you, it's over. It's on site. So you can find me on YouTube as Vishanti if you want to. Right now, my channel has not been officially launched. Mostly hang out on Twitter, where I try to talk about stuff that's important, but sometimes I just shitpost, so go at your own risk. Eventually, when I do get my channel up, I'll talk a little bit about Judaism and how we do our stuff. I'll do kind of comedic readings of the biblical text, putting my own little flavor in there, as in starting the book of Leviticus with God saying, "Get over here," that stuff. Because I'm a very serious person. Yeah.
You can also sometimes find her on Dapper's channel. If you're interested, you can go find her there as well. If you search her name on his
sometimes
channel.
I get to guest and we react to really just mind-numbingly bad Christian young earth creationist apologetics. So...
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Debate Hub. I am Chesh, your master debater, and you can find all of these people in the lovely links down below in the description. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for supporting and super chatting. Please feel free to leave us comments down below, and maybe we'll be able to do a follow-up. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night, everybody. Bye!